Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Life Chronicles and Deep Dives podcast. I'm here with Coach Cornelia, and she is all the way still in Denmark.
Yeah, I told you. The train was canceled. Yeah.
Yeah,
So now the problem is, okay, the train was canceled. We're not gonna go by train. We have to buy some plane tickets, but the airports are always closed in Europe lately because of the drones that someone is sending. So
mhm.
yeah, that's an interesting situation we're in.
Yeah, it becomes quite problematic if you can't travel by air or by train.
I was watching Harry Potter and I wanted to have like they're flying on some what's it called? Grooms?
Brooms, broom.
Brooms.
Yeah,
So they were flying on brooms and I said, I want that broom to go back in Romania with it on it.
I mean, that would be kind of cool if we had like individual
Mhm.
flying apparatuses. Anyway, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then check out the links in the description box below for our websites. And we hope you're going to enjoy this episode. We're going to catch up on some, well, I mean, we've kind of already started catching up on some of the current events. Current events with Cornelia being that she can't travel because there's too many drones and they've been closing the airports of Denmark. That seems pretty
Mhm.
scary. I
Mhm.
think I saw an article where I don't know, was it the French had caught a tanker that they said was part of like a Russian shadow fleet that they believe that the drones were being launched from. I haven't heard anything back from that, but
It's pretty interesting and pretty scary, to be
yeah,
honest.
it doesn't seem too pleasant to be taking off in an airplane and then potentially having a drone fly into the side of it or something like that.
Mhm.
That's terrible. So I guess it's better that you are safe and sound where you're at rather than risking it and having that be a thing because I guess the train was canceled because
No one told us the reason. So first of all, they said that first of all we had a 6 hour driving to Hamburg in Germany from Denmark.
Mhm.
And there they said the train is going to be late for 10 minutes. Then they said it's going to be late for 20 minutes. Then it's going to be late for 40 minutes. And then they canceled it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I'm glad you're safe.
Yeah, me too, hopefully. I mean, Denmark decided for the first time to get very involved in this situation because of the many drones that have been seen in Denmark. So 2 days ago, they invoked Article 4 from NATO. Like it means that they have to meet up and talk about what's going on and what they are gonna do as NATO. They had this meeting in Copenhagen where the only person that was talking transparently was Viktor Orban from Hungary, who said that everyone is pro-war. So everyone on the table, it was the war on the table. So they talked
Mhm.
about starting a war with Russia, which again is pretty scary as well. We're not sure about the drones. Russia says that it's not theirs. We don't understand why no one can see those drones. Like you have so much technology today. You can film them. You can take a photo and see what kind of drones are, who they belong to, right?
Mhm.
So they're not doing it. They're saying that the drones are from Russia. They said about this ship, which is near Copenhagen, or used to be near Copenhagen, who was sending those drones. That at least that's what they're saying. So there is no proof about this until now, but they are
Right.
pushing
It's
this
all
war.
speculation.
Yeah, but still they're pushing this war, and Hungary is the only country that is opposing right now,
Okay.
unfortunately. Yeah, but everyone has to agree. So the Prime Minister of Denmark already said that she won't allow one country to stop the other ones doing what they want to do. So it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen with Hungary in the next days.
Mhm. So let's say we've got, I don't know if you remember, but like last year or towards the end of last year, there was a huge, there's a lot of articles coming out, and I think I was sending them to you about drones that were flying all over. I think
Yeah.
it was the East Coast
Yeah.
of the,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like eventually I don't think anybody gave a like a hard solution to what the reasoning behind that was or where they were coming from or who was operating them or whatever.
Mhm.
I think there was a lot of speculative answers, but I think there was also a lot of answers to obfuscate the truth. So, it's a similar situation.
Yeah.
And it could be, you know, our government, your government, it could be, Russia, it could be somebody probing security, it could be somebody, doing surveillance, intel gathering, it could be somebody setting up for an attack. There's so many different options that it could be,
Yeah.
but none of them are safe. None of them sound good. Um, and
Yeah.
generally what I found is like typically governments are supposed to be there to help the people, right? For the most part, at least in America, that's what our government is by the people for the people, except for until they start keeping secrets, right? So like at what point in time does a government determine that, our population can't handle the truth, so we have to hide it, and our government's done that for years, tens of years. They've hidden, operations, stuff like that, national security. The government that's supposed to be ran by the people is hiding the truth from the people. So when we think about the drones, it could be very dicey. With all the implications that it could be your own internal government. It could be, a defense contractor testing. It could be a foreign adversary like Russia. It could be China. It could be um, you know, it could just be somebody testing like a network um, of drones to see if they're operational for natural disaster. I don't know. So that does seem scary.
It is scary and also annoying. At least just make a decision so we know how we stand, because
Hmm.
it's I mean, some people are very relaxed and they're most of them in Europe think that Ukraine is sending the drones so they can involve Europe in the war, and that's what Zelensky wanted from the beginning to drag everyone into the war. And
A
most of the
possibility.
people, yeah, most of the normal people are saying this is from Ukraine, coming from Ukraine. Um, Other ones are believing it's Russia. So either way, I feel that they want to start something. And where it gets us to is that they're spending a lot of money on military, what it's called, what they need for military. I don't know how it's
Equipment.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of money, and they're taking this money from us, right, to
Hmm.
buy more military equipment. And then you have these huge prices in the supermarkets. And yeah, there was a joke, this they said we should stock up some food, and then everyone was saying how can we do it, because it's everything is very expensive. You can like a normal
Mm.
family can only buy for 1 month, the most in Europe at this point. I'm
This
not
is
talking
crazy.
about the rich people, but the normal ones, the people who are working, the working people, right?
Hold on, is
Yeah,
that from like the climate agenda? Like they've, in gas prices and material costs or like
yeah, the
yeah.
energy very expensive. Yeah, so I don't get it. It's again, the problem with the energy. So they said the windmills are gonna give us free energy. And before the COVID, I had an app, and I could watch the price of the energy. And most of days was zero.
Hmm.
And we were only paying for the transportation to our houses. And now the price is huge. It's the same energy. It's the wind energy. It's the solar
Hmm.
energy. In Denmark, at least you have these huge fields of windmills. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting because our president like says windmills are crap. They're killing whales out at sea. They're killing birds, right? Even solar power. They just set down this huge facility in California called Ivanpah. You can look it up. But basically, there's like 300,000 mirrors or something, and they're supposed to reflect light up to this boiler that heats up water that
Mm,
generates electricity. All of these clean energy ideas, they may be good initially, but if you look at Ivanpah, all those mirrors, all those solar panels, and all those windmills, all the birds that they kill, all the whales that they may be killing, right? It's doing more harm to the environment. So to achieve net zero, you're actually harming the environment more, harming nature, you're harming animals, right? You're taking up land that, normally you would say, hey, let's not touch this land because it needs to be preserved for climate
mhm.
change or whatever, but then you're using it for these green energy. You said you had fields of windmills over there. Sometimes you can see that here in the United States too. I guess you can't reuse the blades and stuff like that. And I know that
No,
we're kind of like moving through different topics, but
as always, like as always.
Um, but I just don't see the green energy. I'd say it's a scam because all of the stuff that they're coming up with doesn't really equal um, cheaper energy. Energy prices keep going up.
Yeah.
And then you
Mhm.
have the advancements in technology where you've got like all these high energy efficiency appliances, high energy efficiency lights. I don't see my bill going down,
No.
like the bill only goes up. And that's what, we've talked about like the incentivization, of certain things, big pharma, right? Big food. And if you look at energy, the incentivization is there. So then, but then the government gets to spend all this money on contracts and, all this
Mhm.
crap that steals from taxpayers and funds it towards NGOs and climate, research and stuff. When, I mean, if they were right, we'd probably already be dead. They weren't right in the 70s and 80s when they started introducing the crap, and we're still here. I
Yeah.
don't see it as existential as they call it, right? I think it's just that they're using fear, as we've talked about, to then take taxpayer money
Yeah.
and throw money at it to enrich other people, or so that way
Mhm.
they can keep spending. A government, let's say, gets, if the government's getting $500 a year, and this is just a very small number, but let's say they're getting $500 a year. In order to keep getting $500 a year, they have to prove that they're spending that $500 a year. But let's say next year they need 600, they need to prove that they've used that 500. So then that you right. So the scale only goes up. The price
Mhm.
only goes up. It never comes
Yeah.
back down.
I remember in Europe where when the solar panels came up on the market and everyone was putting them on the house, and you are not paying for energy anymore, and you were getting money from the government because your what you had extra was going on the in the system, and you got
Yeah, and
money
the
for it.
grid.
That was the beginning, and then when everyone started to use it, now they had the tax on the sun, so it's the same price.
There's a
So in
tax on the
Europe
sun. Oh
there is a
man.
tax on the sun, and in Romania you have a tax on the rain. So if it rains in your garden, you have to pay. So yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I
I
was
mean, I've
talking
heard
to
of that. Where my mom
yeah.
lives in Illinois, they introduced a rain tax, and it's because
Mhm.
they weren't connecting enough, collecting, not connecting, collecting enough money from like vehicle use to service the manholes in the not manholes, the drains in the streets
Yeah.
where they didn't
Mhm.
have enough money to like maintain those, so they started taxing people for rain. I was like, so you're talking about like all this climate and saving us money, but then you're going to tax me on nature? Like, how many other taxes do you think that you think are you going to do, right? I mean, before
Yeah.
we ain't got, and then you wonder why people are like, we need more money or we can afford this, but maybe it's all kind of the plan. If you look at Gavin Newsom, he did he didn't service the levees, the water reservoirs during the LA fires. They didn't have any water. So what happened is that,
Oh yeah.
all those houses burned down. And now what's he want to do with those places? Turn it into low income housing apartment type deals. Communism. He's
Mhm.
taking people's land. It was a land grab. I don't know if it was facilitated or, like you'll never get to the end of it. But let's say if I wanted to turn this place into housing, like I've said in the other podcasts, in order to start something new, you have to get rid of what's already there. So either
Yeah.
it was facilitated or allowed to happen. Either way, it's a terrible thing. And to think that California thinks it's got, the best of everything when in reality it's just leeching taxpayer money. People pay
Yeah.
way too many taxes,
Mhm.
in general, and then California is the worst.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, they have huge taxes.
I wanted to talk about Canada real quick because I sent you an article earlier, right? So we've talked about incentivizing bad things. Um, so Canada's got a assisted suicide um, kind of program, I guess. Um, and I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. They've got a euthanasia program, so like assisted euthanasia program. And so what happens is the you can go in and say, hey, look, I wanna go, I wanna pass, and they will help you achieve that. Well, now what it's
Hmm.
looking like is they're using that as transplant organ donations. So what the article I sent you said that is basically just going to guide people to start to tell, people that come in for assisted euthanasia, they're going to come in, they're going to be like, hey, look, you should sign this paper, sign your organs over. It'll go for a good cause. So you're not only are they working towards, the depopulation agenda while importing migrants, they're also now incentivizing euthanasia because maybe somebody's going to start getting kickbacks for those organs, right? That's crazy.
It's and that's what I wrote to. I said, "What? It's unbelievable."
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, this is the future, the dystopic future we were talking about. We are all, from some points of view, we are already living it. I mean, you have the so many wars at this point. You have this like the medical field, you cannot trust it anymore. So let's say someone has a problem and they want to go in Canada and see if they should or not do it, right?
Hmm.
They're gonna be pushed into it just because they want the organs. You
Hmm.
know, it's crazy. So you can expect that the doctors are gonna be what's that word, like
I don't think they're
uh,
going to have the best
objective.
interest of the patients.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they're gonna just want those organs because the market for the organs is huge, and
Hmm.
everybody knows this. It's not a secret. It's huge. I've been writing so many articles about it when I was a journalist. So it's at least in Europe, it's a huge problem with the organs, and now they're gonna make it like official and legal with
Hmm.
this.
I mean, I'm surprised they even have assisted euthanasia. I mean, and then so like the premise would be like somebody is, let's say if somebody is dying and they want to go, and
Mm-hmm.
then somebody is over here that has like a prognosis that's survivable but needs the organ from the person that's, maybe has a lesser prognosis or isn't dying. They're going to encourage that person to not wait
Yeah.
out their time, even if they want, you know what I mean? Because like the incentive is to give the organ, and maybe most likely there will be money involved because it'll probably start off, it's got a good concept, and then what happens is it'll be corrupted by humans.
I mean, in Europe, we have assisted suicide for a while now. I think it's 7, 8 years probably.
Oh, I
In
did not know that.
Switzerland, I think, and Belgium, probably. I'm not sure about Belgium, but Switzerland is for sure. So there's many people going there and trying to end their life because of a healthy problem, or there's been a huge debate. Yeah, very young person with depression decided to do
Mhm.
it, and they accepted it, which I find it really, really hard to believe.
Yeah, that just seems like, because like somebody with depression could be treated
Yeah.
potentially, right, and recover completely.
Mm-hmm.
um I think it's crazy. I think the incentive for corruption is too great for some of these programs, no matter how good the intention is to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slippery slope. The more programs, the more possibilities for corruption that there can be.
Yeah.
Speaking of programs, let's switch over to the UK now.
Mm.
In our last
Your
episode,
favorite
we talked
topic in the last 2 weeks.
yeah, we talked about the digital ID. We've
Mhm.
brought this up, and it's interesting because I've sent you articles like over time, throughout the
Mhm.
last week of what's like happening, what's happening over
Yeah.
there. And so basically, like, I guess they got this petition going, and I'm not sure how government works in the UK. So maybe if you have a better idea, you can like lay it out once we get to that point. But basically, they have a petition going. It's got a couple million signatures on it, and then the government came out and said, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and do this anyway. And it was in our manifesto. Now, there's a company called Palantir, and they came out and said, hey, look, we don't back this digital ID because it, one, wasn't in your Labor Party manifesto, and also it didn't go through the democratic process. My understanding is the Labor Party over in the UK is constantly touting democracy as the Democrat Party is here, while flaunting it and throwing it away generally,
Mhm.
um, whenever they can. So the digital ID didn't go through a vote. They're just going to implement it. And like I said, digital ID doesn't stop a vote. If they wanted to stop immigration, stop the incentives, stop the taxpayer funded incentives, stop the housing, stop the food cards, stop the, whatever you got to do. But most of all, deport them and stop the boats. That's so easy. All they have to do is stop the boats before they get there, turn them around, right? Don't let them through, uh, and then deport the immigrant population, not create a digital ID so you can control the people. Like I said, the incentive will be to control the people, not to stop the immigration, because the actions don't align. If they wanted to stop immigration and stop illegal people from working, they would deport them and send them back and stop the
Mhm.
boats. But instead, they're going
Yeah.
to not do that.
And you wouldn't see, as I said the last time, and I'm still annoyed by this, so many homeless mothers, British mothers, with
Mhm.
small children on the streets, while the immigrants are having all the conditions and money and food and a shelter, good shelter, and so on. So they don't have to work, and it's the
Yeah.
same all over Europe. I think the digital ID has to get over. I think it has to be voted by the parliament. I mean, the government is proposing a law, and the parliament has to accept it. That's how it is in Europe. So it's gonna have to get past the parliament. So hopefully it won't for the people like you who are afraid of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
From my point of view, I think you've showed me something that someone had it on their phones already, and I
Mhm.
was, how is it possible? Can they
I can't
control?
verify that that's true, but it could be a pilot program that they're trying to roll out where they just force an update, a push update onto
Hmm.
your phone, install an app that, you
Hmm.
don't even know. I
Yeah.
mean, hackers do the same thing to steal your identity and stuff like that, or like log your keystrokes on your computer. So if the hackers can do it at a lower level, government can clearly do it at a large scale. And then what? Then you're trapped. They got you.
Hmm. What no matter what I believe about this digital ID, it can be any topic. If people are saying that they don't want it, I mean, this is the democracy we want, right? The people are deciding what's going to happen to their country. And
Hmm.
if the people are saying we don't want this, you have to listen to the people. And that's something that scares me. And we talked about this in the other podcasts. You're going out protesting. No one cares about it. So they before you were, let's say you had 2,000, 3,000 people on the street in Europe at least, and they would count, they would listen to you. And now you can be as many as you want. They don't care. We've had in Romania 1 million people, and no one cared about it at one point.
Hmm.
So they don't care about your opinions anymore, about our opinions anymore. Though in Romania, if you have a petition with I don't remember how much of the population, 30%, it just doesn't pass. The law doesn't pass. I'm not sure how it is in UK.
So here's a kicker, right? So in the United States, right? So like if they were to implement digital ID here in the United States, right? In the United States, you don't need an ID to vote in several states, right? So the Democrats, I believe,
Oh, then
imported
how do
all
you vote
these.
then?
That's a good that's a good question. So the
That is it
Democrats have
real?
say it doesn't happen, but it does happen because there's a huge number of illegal migrants that are inside the United States that are probably, getting benefits, paying taxes, but that doesn't make them citizens. They just came in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were paroled or given, whatever status by the previous administration, but for what purpose? So they can vote, right? They didn't just bring them in because they were, doing it out of the kindness of their heart. There's always the incentive. What's the incentive? Voting for more power. If you vote, like if you're giving me something for free that I can't get anywhere else, of course I want more of you, so I would vote for you, right? So that's
Yeah.
what you're seeing. Now, the question is, Democrats, they don't want ID to vote. There should be some level of voter ID law, but I mean our Congress is still arguing about this. State governments are still arguing about this. Is that do you need an ID that proves citizenship or proof of citizenship to vote in US elections? You should need that. If somebody else can vote that's not a citizen in our elections, regardless if they're here uh like on illegally or if they're, if they're not a citizen, they shouldn't get a say in how our government runs. With that being said, Democrats which the Labor Party is essentially equivalent to in Europe, um, wouldn't be able to implement digital ID here in the United States because it would ruin their ability
Yeah,
to,
that's crazy.
to get the illegal vote.
Yeah.
So it
You're
so it's
lucky. Then you're lucky over there. You won't have digital idea.
well, I mean, we may not yet, right? So the problem is when do they when do they implement it and how do they implement it while still achieving their goal? And so that's something I'll have to think about a little bit more because if they can still get the illegal vote, but they can also still get, they can still have that level of carbon, footprint control, or, you know, we don't want you to travel because, you've drove so many miles this month or whatever. So we'll
While
see.
they're having private planes and just fly all over
Private
whenever they want. Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
Just one plane for one person. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I remember Meghan Markle saying that, Meghan Markle is the wife of Prince Harry from England, and
Hmm.
she was always with the climate change and how much she cares about climate change. And then one day she took a plane by herself and went to New York just for what's that called when you wanna have a baby shower, just for a
Hmm.
baby shower. So yeah, one plane for so many kilometers, thousands of kilometers, just for one person. But
Hmm.
she cares a lot about climate change.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. People with power love to tell you how to live your life while also not
Mhm.
doing that themselves, because they
Mhm.
think that with their money or with their power, they're smarter than everybody else, which I don't know when you're going to release it, but this kind of like ties into our separate series, The Dark Traits of Humanity, where we talked about like the pride and the ego. So
Mhm.
that'll be interesting to see, um, since we're bringing that little cross podcast tie-in. Um, so I wanted to also bring in something a little bit different. We've covered many topics this first part of this episode, but let's talk about lust and love. So,
Mhm.
what's the difference between the two? So Cornelia, let me ask you first. What do you think the difference is between lust and love? And this is an opinion answer. It's not really scientific because you could.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna ask me if I were in any of those positions and how did it feel. But we are all in those positions at one point because the last is that physical attraction. When you're crazy, you're getting crazy for that person. You want to talk to them all the time, you want to meet them all the time, you want to touch them all the time, and so on. And then love is what comes after when it's more like it's a steady feeling.
Mhm.
So that's the difference between those two. And some people prefer lust over love because
Mhm.
they don't want the commitment, and some people prefer love over lust. But you won't have love without lust. That's how I think. I think you cannot have love without lust.
Mhm. I
So
mean, at least in relational
if you take
contact.
lust,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So with lust, how do you think it starts? Like, what's the first aspect of lust? And it doesn't have to be like personal experience. It can be what you think. But like when you're, let's say, if when you were out single, what was your first aspect that you encountered with lust?
So I think it's most of it is physical attraction. You like that person, you feel attracted physically by that person.
Hmm.
First of all, it's the first thing. I That's how I think it is. Yeah, and then it comes like you get to see if you have that chemistry. I think it's a lot of chemistry involved in it, and not all the last cases are ending up in love.
Mm.
So you can have that chemistry for a while and then it can just dissipate.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I feel that love deepens and lust is not deepening. I don't know the other word,
Like
so.
fleeting. It's like
Mhm.
fleeting. Yeah, this
Yeah.
doesn't stick around. Yeah, I agree.
How about you? What do you think, Micah? As a
Okay.
man, from a man perspective, yeah.
Well, I'm going to break it down. I think probably a little bit more philosophical and scientific than, I would normally. I mean, I guess I do that to everything, so it doesn't really matter. If if I'm thinking about it, I'm going to think about all aspects of it. So I'm
Yeah,
going to try
yeah,
to.
that's true. And just what I want to say, I'm never breaking it down because I know you're gonna do it. So I'm just thinking about some other things to say about the topic because I know you're gonna do it anyway. So
Right.
you're doing
So
very well.
lust in the beginning is like when you see somebody, right? You mentioned this, right? This is what you're cueing to. It's like that initial, I see this person, and your eyes generally are the first thing that become active, the first sense that
Mhm.
becomes active when you engage with somebody. So then the that sets off a chemical physiological reaction in the brain, right?
Mhm.
And so that triggers like all sorts of things, like the flushing, and then the laughing and without control, or the overconfidence, not like the bad kind, but like the overplayed but comical kind, where you
Mhm.
stumble around. And then what happens is that chemical releases, like it's like dopamine release, but it's also like an anxiety release at the same time. And sometimes you can't figure out why it is, but the attraction is there. What drives attraction? I don't know. Product of environment, what you grew up around,
Yeah.
and then it's personal preference. So like whatever comes to mind. And then from there, it is that sexual drive, that the senses, the smell, the wanting to be around somebody, the wanting to touch them, to be close to them, wanting to spend time
Mhm.
with them, laugh, um, hug, kiss, whatever. And so like that's where that lust kind of like grabs you.
Yeah, it's like an obsession you have over that
Yes.
person. Yeah.
Yes. And it all is, biochemical, like dopamine and reactions in the brain, and you know, and 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 what I think this is, as we know, what the human body can do is produce baby. Well, the female body produces babies, the male produces sperm, and when combined, produce
Mm-hmm.
it, or female body egg, male body sperm produces egg. When combined, when the powers combine, they make a baby. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is it? It's the drive to procreate. So like we would need that drive to procreate, just like we need that lust in order to engage in that activity. Here's why. The brain, it's the opposite. The brain actually dials down in your head what it thinks is disturbing or disgusting when you're engaged in sexual activity
Mm-hmm.
from a normal state of mind, and drives up that dopamine lust release, the oxytocin release, right? So that's all there to create a baby. Now, love is a construct that comes after, right? Generally, a parent can love their child, you know, but two adults that are loving each other is after the lust period. Here's
Mm-hmm.
another aspect of it. Like lust is there so that way humans can procreate, make a baby. Why does lust wane? Why is it fleeting? My theory is that it has to do with survivability. Males are supposed to be spreading their seed to as many females as possible, just like in nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Marriage, religion, uh, all human control constructs guide us into that, one person, one baby, or one person, marriage, multiple babies
Yeah.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. And so love is just that, and it is an extension, right? Of essentially control, but also, I mean, you can feel love, but it's also a choice. If I'm in a relationship with somebody, I may not enjoy something every single day that they do, right? But my choice is to be there and care for them, love them still, even though I'm maybe annoyed this particular day, but
Mm-hmm.
another day, I mean, I may be fine. It's like a choice,
Yes, I
chemical
agree.
reaction in the
Love is
brain.
a choice, actually. Love is a
Yeah.
choice. A relationship is a choice. You have to work for it, and you
Mhm.
have to make a conscious choice about it. Yeah. But you're saying, I mean, it might be the like you said that we it's just procreation behind all of the lust, and I
Mhm.
think it might be a very old instinct, but some people just like to have sex at the same time, so they're not
Sure.
making
Yeah.
babies, they're just having sex.
Mhm. Well, I mean, so the act in and of itself is there, but see, that's the interesting part. Humans, one of the very few animals that actually exists in this realm that has sex for pleasure. I mean, there's only a few, like a
Mhm.
handful of few animals. I couldn't name them off the top of my head. I think dolphins maybe. that have sex for pleasure. So because of that pleasure aspect of it, you add another layer to like the lust.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that the lust aspect is there. So like a male is supposed to like have sex, produce a baby with a woman, and then the woman is supposed to take care of the child, at least in the nature sense of it. And then the
Mm-hmm.
male moves on, which is why the lust typically wanes. But the love is like an extension, an evolution of the lust, because we can make that choice to stay in that relationship with a person. We can choose to love them, smile with them, laugh with them, cry with them, spend time with them and raise the child while being a protector or, going out and working to support the family at the same time.
So it's like lust, you're saying like lust is the original instinct of humans
Hmm.
to procreate. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it can be. But in the modern times, many people just don't want to have any emotional involvement. They have
Mm.
this, what's that called when you don't want to get involved in a relationship? I don't remember the word. The
You want to
fear of
stay single at least? I don't know. I don't know if there's a word for it.
it's a fear of like they say then the man doesn't want to ask her in marriage or something like this because he's afraid of commitment. Yeah,
Commitment.
that's the word. Yeah. So it's this as well. So many men and women they prefer to have sex, and I actually have a friend. I'm not gonna say it's if it's a man or a girl, but they just prefer it without any commitment, without any love comes with work, a lot of work.
Hmm.
uh, and they don't want to put the work in. They just want to have
Hmm.
the pleasure from it and enjoy multiple partners, and that's life for
Right.
them. It's
And
it's just
humans
fine.
are the they go for like the path of least resistance. So,
Mhm.
I mean, if
Yeah.
marriage or sorry, not marriage, I mean, I guess marriage, but love is like a lot of hard work. The path of least
Mhm.
resistance would be not to, fall in love. They can still engage in that lust aspect. In fact, it has to be present, right? You have to have that attraction to somebody generally to engage
Yeah.
in willing sex with them. So it's interesting to see how it plays out in terms of how each person is there. You said you fear of commitment. Fear of commitment could be a developmental deficiency. It could be something like a personality trait, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially like a avoidant type personality. So there are
Yeah.
people that have like the secure attachment, there's people with the anxious attachment, and there's people with the avoidant attachment. Those would be your afraid of commitment types. Secure would be like a relationship that we would consider healthy and normal, where boundaries are, enforced, love is there, respect, mutual respect, that kind of thing. You typically see that as like your typical American family, as they call it. Um, could be European family as well, because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know,
It's the same definition actually.
yeah.
Yeah. But
So let
uh
me ask you this: with love, um, what you said it was work. Talk to me more about that.
mm, so the last has to last for a while until it transforms in love.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I'm not sure it can happen with any partner. I mean, we can have chemistry with more partners, but we can only fall in love and start to love just one of them because it starts like you have a compatibility with that person.
Mhm.
Um, Love is more deep than lust, of course, and it's more steady. You're not having those permanent butterflies and this obsession to
Mhm.
talk with the person, to meet them, to but it's starting it transforms in a friendship. At least in my opinion, you have to be a very good friends with your partner, so it transforms in friendship, in a beautiful friendship, then care for each other, care in the real aspect of it. Wanted to protect, even if it's a woman or a man, you want to protect your partner, you want them to be happy, you want to sacrifice for that partner. That's what I think love is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if you're lucky enough to keep the last going, you know, to
Mhm.
keep the last lasting as long as possible, that's very nice.
Yeah. And then So in love, people have like the choices, right? So like I wake up every day, I love my wife, right? I wake up every day and then,
Mm-hmm.
like I choose to, spend time in bed with her. Like on Sundays, I spend time in bed with her before I get up and start moving around. So like that's a choice, right? So like
Sure.
each aspect of love then becomes a choice, but it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like you put in this work in, even if you're not married, because that's like a religious civil construct, right? Um, but you're with somebody. And I'm not saying, don't get married or do get married. What I'm saying is, I'm recognizing it as something that was created in order to, it's just another layer of control for me, even though I am
Mm-hmm.
married, because you unlock certain benefits being married that you wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? So every day I make those choices to be present, with my wife, spend time with her, right? And that is what's the work, but you're creating like symbiosis. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you have this choice from the beginning of lust. And as that, wage, you can choose to cultivate symbiosis between two people, or you can break and then move on to somebody
Mm-hmm.
else, right? And not everybody's going to find somebody to create like a symbiosis with, but like me and my wife, we have great symbiosis. Like we complete each other. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like how love is also defined, right? It's like completing the other person, yin and yang. It's like almost like you guys function as one. There's no
Mm-hmm.
secrets. Well, hopefully there's no secrets in your marriage or in your long-term relationship. There's communication, right? Me and my wife, we communicate about, pretty much everything, problems, as well as the fun stuff, um,
Mm-hmm.
constantly. So that way we're not holding on to it too long. There's, the choice to spend time with, to be present with,
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to do. You choose I mean, not, you don't always have to choose your partner in terms of like what you're going to do for the day every day, but you choose your partner more than you would choose like an outside source, like a friend
Mm-hmm.
or, somebody else. So it's
Or for
all
example,
in choice.
yeah, I've seen this example one day and I really liked it. Let's say you're very tired after a day at work, your partner wants to talk to you, and you make this choice to talk to them and not going to sleep, even though you're very tired. And this is the hard work I was talking about, because sometimes it can be very, very hard. But what I feel is that not so. Let's say you have 20 adventures. So the last is 20 times in your life, right? Not all of them can transform in love.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be one person for example, with me and my husband, I feel that it's when I'm not with him and when I'm in Romania, it's very hard because I feel that it's just half of me. I don't know how to explain it. It's a feeling when I'm meeting him again, it's like I'm whole again.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be the right person.
Mm-hmm.
You can make the choice to dedicate yourself to someone, but if it's not the right person, at one point it's gonna break. Everything is gonna break somehow.
So
So
when I imagine this, it's
yeah.
like brain waves. In the beginning, it's less like rapid brain waves, both individual. They're operating at different, frequencies, or, they're up and down, but they're both excited. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I think about love, it's like those brain waves sync up and then they slow
Mm-hmm.
down together and then they kind of like work together at the same. And then when you're
Yeah.
apart, it speeds up a little bit because that anxious kind of like kicks in. It's that symbiosis. It's almost like, have you heard of like Earth makes like a hum? We can't mentally focus on it or hear it, but the Earth
Mm-hmm.
rotation and like the core like generates a hum. But I'm hearing
Yeah.
that if you are like in a soundproof room, like a very sound, like they have, I don't know who has it, Microsoft has it, somebody has like a very soundproof room, that like they'll pay you a certain amount of money to stay in there for an hour, but most people don't even last, a certain amount of minutes, because it's so quiet, because you need that hum from the
Mm.
earth. So your
Wow.
body like recognizes it, and without
Mm-hmm.
it, it becomes anxious. So your
Wow.
brain waves
Very,
become anxious.
I didn't
Same.
know about that. Very, very interesting.
I mean, you have to look into it. I mean, I swear
Mm-hmm.
I saw a video like documenting this,
Mm-hmm.
and at first you go into a quiet room and you're like, oh, that's fine. But then after a while, without like any external noise except for your own breathing, your own heartbeat, and that's it. There's no external like, sounds or whatever. It can cause like huge distress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ultra silence or even like, distressing sounds, right? But that's the same concept. You remove somebody that you've created this symbiosis with through love, which
Mm-hmm.
is also biochemical and
Yeah.
physiological. You're physiologically and biochemically attached to this individual. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a I'm going way off topic. In a narcissistic relationship, they create what's called a trauma bond, and a trauma bond is we've talked about this, is like the cycle of positive and my goodness, is the cycle of positive and negative reinforcement. So they keep you on this up and down roller coaster. And what it does
Mm-hmm.
in your brain, biochemically, it makes you stuck to them like glue, chemically,
Depend.
biologically dependent upon them, like a cigarette or an alcoholic or somebody that's addicted to heroin. It's that strong.
Yeah.
Love is not that, it's similar in function. I mean, I just rattled off three bad things for health, but love, when you're separate from that person, my guess is that it's creating those similar patterns of I'm missing that
Mm-hmm.
person that I've created that harmony with, that symbiosis.
Yeah. Yeah. Love is beautiful, Micah. And I think we're very lucky to have found it in our lives.
Absolutely. And I think it's also, there's very few animals that like mate for life or stay
Mm-hmm.
together. And that's what I'm saying is like the nature aspect of it is to stay in that lust, procreate, and then move on. But then, like this is where I think religion kind of came in, and the civil construct of it is they needed a way to control the population. What happens if there is no control on morals or no control on human nature in terms of procreating? Then guess what? You're just going to have people like, mating and having babies all over the place, like, I guess they say like rabbits do, right?
Yeah,
And
no social structure. Yeah.
you
At one point,
lose,
the social structure is gonna disappear,
right?
I
And then
think.
you lose the harmony with the earth.
Hmm.
Like humans create a harmony with the planet, supposedly, hopefully, that's not as disrupted.
Yeah. Maybe we
Crazy.
can talk about what would happen if it wouldn't be morals in the world
Oh,
on our Dark Traits series.
yeah, let's do that.
Mhm.
Well, everybody, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Life Chronicles and Deep Dives podcast. If you liked the video, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our links in the description box below. Please don't forget to leave comments in the comment section as well, questions, comments, concerns, and we'll see you in the next one.